If you are watching this and you care about the safety of your community, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We bring you the stories that matter, the stories that affect your faith, your family, and your freedom. Because right now, we have a story that will fill your heart with relief and at the same time, remind you of the darkness that still lurks on our highways. It was supposed to be a day of joy, a day to celebrate the union of a man and a woman before God. On the morning of January 9th, 2026, three men of God, Reverend Idi Buhari, Emmanuel Jacob, and Suleiman Adamu, set out on a journey. They were traveling from Kaduna State to neighboring Niger State. Their mission was sacred, to officiate a wedding ceremony. You can imagine the mood in the vehicle. There was likely light-hearted conversation, perhaps a review of the marriage sermon, maybe a joke or two to pass the time. The road stretched ahead of them, dusty and familiar. But here's where the story takes a terrifying turn. They never made it to the wedding. Somewhere along that quiet stretch of road, the atmosphere changed. Armed bandits, men who value metal over mercy, ambushed their vehicle. In a matter of seconds, the songs of praise in that car were replaced by the sounds of terror. The three reverends were dragged out, shoved into the bush, and swallowed by the forest. Days passed. 3 days. For their families, for their congregations in the evangelical church winning all, ECWA, Kaduna South, it was an eternity. Every hour that ticked by was a battle between hope and despair. But let me tell you something about the men and women who wear the uniform in this country. They do not rest. While the community prayed, the Department of State Services, DSS, in Niger State, working hand in hand with the command in Kaduna, was doing what they do best, gathering intelligence, tracking movements, and waiting for the right moment.
Now, at this point, we have to visualize this operation. We aren't talking about a simple checkpoint stop. We are talking about a coordinated effort in the heart of bandit country. The security operatives moved deep into operational areas, risking their own lives to pull these three men out of the lion's den. When the operation concluded, the relief was physical. Three men, Reverend Idi Buhari, Emmanuel Jacob, and Suleiman Adamu, were found alive. I want you to think about that moment, the moment they saw the uniforms of the DSS instead the ragged clothes of their captors, the moment they realized the nightmare was over. One source on the ground described the condition of the pastors as having sustained injuries from the ordeal, marks of the brutality they endured while in the bush. The rescued pastors were immediately transported from Niger State back to Kaduna, and when they arrived, the atmosphere was thick with emotion. A senior government official who witnessed their arrival spoke with a heavy but relieved heart. He said, "Those that have been rescued and we have seen as at this moment are 3 in number. I am not able to tell you previous ones for now, but what I have seen personally as of this morning are 3 who were transported from Niger to Kaduna." He wanted the people of Kaduna to know something important. I want to assure you that the Kaduna state government does not rest on its oars. We are doing a lot to ensure that peace is not only maintained, but of course sustained. The efforts of government in ensuring that everybody's life and property is sustained is the primary role of governance.
But the voice that perhaps carried the most weight was that of Reverend John Joseph Hayab. He is the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, in the 19 northern states and the FCT. He stood before the people, looked at the battered but alive pastors, and felt a surge of mixed emotions. Few days ago, 2 of our pastors, Reverend Idi Buhari and Reverend Jacob Emmanuel, all of ECWA Kaduna South, on their way for a wedding, were kidnapped by these evil men, he recounted. Fortunately for us, they escaped, but the situation there, they wouldn't have come on their own, so the men of the security service helped in protecting them and bringing them back to us. He then turned his attention to the men who made it happen. He didn't just thank them, he saluted them. We saw the kind of injury they sustained because of the unfortunate incident. But I think most importantly, we must salute these men who are sacrificing their lives, sacrificing their time to ensure that the right thing is done. Today we have our pastors back, so kudos to our men here in the state service in Kaduna and Niger, and I must give kudos to the DSS and all other security agencies. Let's pause and think about the human side here. Reverend Hayab didn't just see a successful operation. He saw fathers, brothers, and spiritual leaders who had been subjected to the wild. Their safe return isn't just a security win, It's a spiritual victory for the entire Christian community in northern Nigeria. Now, you might think the story ends with the rescue, but this is where we peel back the layers. While the rescue operation was happening for the pastors, a different kind of raid was taking place against the support system of these criminals. The DSS didn't just find the victims, they found the pipeline. In a simultaneous coordinated sweep, the operatives arrested 3 suspects. These aren't just foot soldiers grabbing people off the street. These are logistics experts. These are the men who make the bandits powerful.
Investigations revealed that these 3 suspects were running a deadly errand. They operated an arms and ammunition courier network. Think about that for a second. While the reverends were being held captive, somewhere in the shadows, a supply chain was moving guns to kill more people. How did they operate? They were smart, or so they thought. They used the chaos of the motorpacks. They used rural routes to dodge checkpoints. They moved their deadly cargo along the Kaduna axis, using commercial buses and motorpacks as a cover. One of the suspects was picked up at the famous Peggy motorpark in Niger State. He confessed that he received a consignment there. He was told it contained Tantalites, an expensive stone used in electronics. A perfect lie to hide the truth, that the package was filled with instruments of death. Now listen to this conversation as recounted by the suspect. It reveals the cold, business-like nature of this trade. The suspect said, "I requested for 100,000 naira for transportation of the consignment because he told me the consignment contains Tantalites, an expensive stone, but he ended up giving me 50,000 naira and they lied to me that the consignment contains Tantalites and he told me to handle it with care and not make the mistake of handing it to another passenger. So I told him my final destination is Tina. So on getting to Tina, I gave the consignment to this man who took it from there to Funtua. I took 20,000 naira and gave 20,000 naira to this person." Let's look at this clearly. He haggled over the price. He negotiated for a bigger fee to transport a package he suspected was illegal, even if he claims he didn't know it was guns. For 50,000 naira, he became a cog in the machine of terror. He handed it off like a regular parcel, splitting the profit with another man who would take it further north to Tatsuna. This is the network we are fighting. It is a web of greed, deception, and violence that stretches from the motorparks in our cities to the forests where our people are held captive.
The DSS has stated that investigations are ongoing. They are following the threads. If this man picked up the consignment in Peggy, who gave it to him, who ordered it, and who was waiting for it in Katsina? These are the questions that keep our security forces awake at night. So what is the lesson in all of this? It is twofold. First, we must acknowledge the bravery of our security forces. In an era where they are often criticized, men of the DSS in Niger and Kaduna showed that collaboration yields results. They rescued the captives and dismantled a part of the supply chain. That deserves our respect. But second, and this is crucial for you watching at home, be careful what you carry. Be careful what you transport for people. That motor park in your city, that bus you bought every day could be the same route used to ferry rifles into the hands of bandits. That package a stranger asks you to deliver for a little cash could be the very weapon used to kidnap your neighbor. We need to ask ourselves critical questions. How many of these innocent packages are moving through our rural routes right now? Are we as citizens paying enough attention to the luggage being loaded onto vehicles next to us? What is the responsibility of the motorpark unions in stopping this silent invasion of arms? These are not just questions for the government, they are questions for the community.